Welcome to Moments in History channel. Imagine this. The year is 1805. Napoleon Bonaparte, the master of Europe, has conquered almost everything he can see. But across a narrow stretch of water, one stubborn island nation defies him. Great Britain. Napoleon knows he can't march his Grande Armée across the English Channel as long as the Royal Navy rules the waves. His grand plan? To lure the British fleet away, assemble a massive Franco-Spanish armada, and seize control of the sea just long enough to ferry his invasion force across. The fate of an empire, and perhaps the world, hangs in the balance. This is the stage for one of history's most epic naval showdowns, the Battle of Trafalgar. On one side, we have the combined fleets of France and Spain, 33 massive ships of the line, a formidable force commanded by the French Vice Admiral Pierre-Charles Villeneuve. He's a capable commander, but he's under immense pressure from Napoleon, who is famously impatient. Villeneuve knows the British are out there, hunting him, and he's wary. He's been blockaded, chased across the Atlantic and back, and his crews are a mix of seasoned sailors and inexperienced conscripts. Morale is not exactly sky-high. On the other side, the British Royal Navy. They have fewer ships, only 27, but they are the undisputed heavyweights of the sea. Their crews are hardened veterans, drilled to perfection in gunnery and seamanship. And at their head is a living legend, a man who is both revered and feared, Vice Admiral Horatio Nelson. Nelson is a tactical genius, a commander who inspires fanatical devotion in his men. He's already lost an eye and an arm in service to his country, and he's willing to risk everything for one more glorious victory. The two fleets are on a collision course off the southwest coast of Spain, near a cape named Trafalgar. The conventional wisdom of naval warfare at the time was for two fleets to sail in parallel lines, blasting away at each other until one side gave up. It was formal, predictable, almost like a deadly dance, but Nelson had no time for convention. He knew that to win, truly win, he had to annihilate the enemy, not just defeat them. He had a plan, and it was audacious, borderline reckless, and utterly brilliant. As the sun rose on October 21, 1805, the lookouts on Nelson's flagship, HMS Victory, spotted the enemy fleet. Instead of forming a single line parallel to the enemy, Nelson did something unprecedented. He divided his smaller fleet into two columns, which would sail directly at the Franco-Spanish line, aiming to punch right through it. Think of it like this. Instead of two long lines of boxers trading jabs, Nelson sent two battering rams crashing into the enemy's midsection. This was an incredibly risky maneuver. As his lead ships approached, they would be exposed to the full broadside fire of multiple enemy vessels, a hellish gauntlet of cannonballs they'd have to endure without being able to fire back effectively. It was a gamble that relied on the superior speed, gunnery, and sheer nerve of his captains and crews. He trusted them implicitly. As the fleets closed, Nelson famously had a signal hoisted for all his men to see. England expects that every man will do his duty. It was a message that electrified the fleet. The two British columns, one led by Nelson in the Victory and the other by his second-in-command, Cuthbert Collingwood, in the Royal Sovereign, plunged toward the enemy line. The Royal Sovereign, being a faster ship, hit the line first. Collingwood, seeing his ship sailing alone into the jaws of the enemy, remarked, "What would Nelson give to be here?" A moment later, his ship smashed through the enemy line, unleashing devastating broadsides from both sides, a maneuver the sailors called crossing the T. Then came the Victory. For nearly 40 minutes, she sailed through a storm of iron, her sails shredded, her hull splintered, men falling on her decks. But she didn't falter. She broke through the line right behind the French flagship, the Bucentaure, and raked her from stern to bow with a catastrophic broadside. The single volley dismounted 20 of the flagship's cannons and killed or wounded hundreds of men, effectively crippling the enemy command ship in the opening moments of the engagement. What followed was not a battle line, but a swirling, chaotic melee. Nelson's plan had worked perfectly. The Franco-Spanish line was shattered into isolated groups of ships surrounded by the British. The battle devolved into a series of brutal ship-to-ship duels at point-blank range. Cannons roared, wooden hulls splintered into deadly shrapnel, and the air grew thick with acrid black smoke, pierced only by the flash of cannon fire and the screams of men. The British superiority in gunnery was now overwhelming. They could fire faster and more accurately than their opponents, and the results were devastating. Aboard the HMS Victory, Nelson was pacing the quarterdeck, the heart of the battle swirling around him. He had refused to cover the medals on his uniform, making him an easy target. Around 1:15 in the afternoon, a French sharpshooter high in the rigging of the Redoutable fired his musket. The ball struck Nelson in the shoulder, passed through his lung, and lodged in his spine. He fell to the deck. "They have done for me at last," he said, as he was carried below deck. "My backbone is shot through." Even as he lay dying in the cramped, dark cockpit of the Victory, Nelson's mind was on the battle. He demanded constant updates, his strategic genius sharp until the very end. Above him, the battle raged on. The crew of the Redoutable tried to board the Victory, leading to a savage fight with pistols, cutlasses, and pikes on the blood-soaked decks. But ship by ship, the Franco-Spanish fleet was being systematically dismantled. Their command structure was gone, their line broken, and they were being outfought at every turn. By late afternoon, the guns began to fall silent. The scale of the British victory was staggering. The Franco-Spanish fleet had been annihilated. Not a single British ship was lost. But the enemy lost 22 ships, captured or destroyed. It was one of the most one-sided victories in the history of naval warfare. Down below, the dying Nelson received the news. "Thank God I have done my duty," he whispered. He asked his trusted captain, Thomas Hardy, to kiss him. Those were among his last words. The architect of the greatest naval victory in British history was gone, but his legacy was secure. The Battle of Trafalgar was more than just a naval victory. It was a world-changing event. It utterly shattered Napoleon's dream of invading Britain. He would have to turn his armies east, leading eventually to his fateful invasion of Russia. For the next 100 years, Britannia would truly rule the waves, her naval supremacy unchallenged, allowing the British Empire to expand across the globe. The battle cemented the Royal Navy's reputation for invincibility and demonstrated the power of audacious leadership and tactical innovation. Nelson's plan to break the line was a stroke of genius that redefined naval combat. He wasn't just a commander, he was an innovator who understood that courage and a new idea could overcome superior numbers. Today, Nelson's column stands in the heart of London, in Trafalgar Square. A permanent monument to the man and the battle that saved a nation. The HMS Victory is still a commissioned warship, preserved in Portsmouth, a tangible link to that smoky, violent, and glorious day in 1805. The story of Trafalgar is a powerful reminder that history is often shaped not by the grand, sweeping plans of emperors, but by the courage and ingenuity of those who dare to do things differently. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey back in time. If you found this story as fascinating as we do, please hit that like button and subscribe to Moments in History channel for more deep dives into the epic moments that shaped our world. Let us know in the comments what other historical battles you'd like to see covered. Until next time, stay curious.